January 18, 2026, 4:52 a.m., Huetamo, Michoacán. The air was cold, the streets were silent. Nothing moved in the darkness, but 347 federal operatives were already in position. FBI, DEA, Mexican Special Forces, fighter jets overhead, armed helicopters circling, armored convoys rolling through dirt roads toward a single compound. The target, Audias Flores Silva, El Jardinero, the gardener, one of the most wanted commanders in the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. If you want the full truth about what happened that morning, hit like so this story reaches more people who need to know. The operation was massive. Months of intelligence gathering, wiretaps, satellite surveillance, informants embedded deep inside CJNG networks. The U.S. Treasury had sanctioned El Jardinero since April 2021. He faced accusations of trafficking 18.7 tons of cocaine, 4.3 tons of methamphetamine, fentanyl precursors flooding American cities. The death toll linked to his network exceeded 2,100 Americans. This wasn't a routine bust. This was war. At 5:09 a.m., ground teams breached the outer perimeter. Flashbangs shattered windows. Doors exploded inward. Agents moved through darkness with thermal optics. They found 7 suspects inside, men and women, logistics handlers, lookouts, low-level enforcers. But El Jardinero was gone. Someone had tipped him off hours before the raid. A leak, a phone call, a corrupt official on the cartel payroll. This is the pattern that keeps repeating in Mexico. Massive operations, overwhelming force, and the targets vanish like smoke. The agents knew immediately something was wrong. The compound was too quiet, too empty. Personal items remained, weapons were stashed. Cash was left behind, but the main target had escaped with his security detail. 2 DEA agents were shot during the extraction. Rounds came from a hillside 200 meters away. Cartel snipers covering the retreat. One agent took a bullet to the shoulder, another to the leg. Both survived, but the message was clear. CJNG was not backing down. Comment exposed below if you think corruption is destroying these operations. By 6:47 a.m., the detainees were loaded into armored vehicles. The convoy headed toward the local Guardia Nacional headquarters in Huetamo. Word spread fast through the town. Family members gathered. Neighbors blocked roads with burning tires. Protests erupted. They claimed the arrested were innocent, just workers, just locals trying to survive. But intelligence said otherwise. The 7 detainees had direct links to El Jardinero's distribution network. One woman handled encrypted communications. A man managed cross-border logistics. Another coordinated safe houses across Michoacán. Security forces responded with tear gas. Clashes intensified. The situation spiraled. This wasn't just a failed raid. This was a public humiliation for U.S. and Mexican law enforcement. Let me show you why this matters more than you think. El Jardinero isn't just another cartel lieutenant, he's a regional commander. Born November 19, 1980, in Michoacán de Ocampo, he rose through CJNG ranks by controlling key territories in the Tierra Caliente region. This area is strategic. It connects drug routes from the Pacific coast to central Mexico. The U.S. government offered a reward of $5 million for information leading to his arrest. He remained untouchable. CJNG operates differently than older cartels. They're militarized, organized, brutal. They control ports like Manzanillo and Lázaro Cárdenas, where Chinese chemical shipments arrive. These chemicals become fentanyl. Fentanyl kills 73,000 Americans every year. CJNG also extorts avocado farmers in Michoacán. Legal businesses forced to pay protection money, mayors, candidates, journalists. Anyone who resists faces execution. The cartel's leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, has evaded capture for over a decade. The U.S. offers $15 million for his arrest. He operates from remote mountain hideouts with layers of security. El Jardinero is his right hand. If this shocks you, hit like now. But while El Jardinero escaped, another operation succeeded the same week. Ryan James Wedding, former Olympic snowboarder. Alleged transnational drug kingpin. He was arrested in Mexico on January 23, 2026. Wedding competed for Canada in the 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Olympics. He finished 24th in snowboarding. But after his athletic career ended, he allegedly built a billion-dollar cocaine trafficking network. Federal prosecutors charged Wedding with overseeing the transport of 60 tons of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico into the United States. His network allegedly ordered 11 murders to protect operations. Victims included rivals, witnesses, informants. The FBI had hunted Wedding for years. He lived under false identities, changed locations constantly, used encrypted communications, but on January 23rd, a joint FBI-DEA Mexican Special Forces team captured him in a safe house outside Guadalajara. This arrest drew massive media attention. The headlines celebrated the takedown of an Olympic athlete turned drug lord, press conferences, photo ops, victory statements from Washington. But the broader story remained hidden. The same operation that failed to capture El Jardinero had cost lives, resources, credibility. Wedding's arrest was real. It mattered, but it was also a distraction from the larger failure. Type yes if you're ready to see what really drives these cartels. The truth is, CJNG has embedded itself into Mexico's institutions. Corruption runs deep. Local police, military officers, prosecutors, mayors, governors. Cartel payments range from $2,000 per month for a local cop to $500,000 for a high-ranking official. These aren't isolated cases. This is systematic infiltration. When raids like Huetamo happen, someone always tips off the target. Phone calls, text messages, anonymous warnings. The cartel knows hours in advance. That's why massive operations keep failing. Intelligence gathering takes months. Surveillance, wiretaps, informants risking their lives. Then at the final moment, a single leak destroys everything. The 7 detainees from Huetamo were processed in Morelia. They faced federal charges, drug trafficking, organized crime participation, weapons possession. But without El Jardinero, the operation was hollow. U.S.-Mexico cooperation has intensified under the Trump administration's 2026 crackdown. In August 2025, Mexico extradited 26 fugitives wanted for serious crimes. Many were linked to CJNG, Sinaloa Cartel, Gulf Cartel. One close ally of El Mencho received 30 years in a U.S. federal prison. DEA operations seized 1.2 million counterfeit fentanyl pills in 2025. 77,000 kilograms of drugs. 670 arrests. These are wins, real progress, but the leadership remains untouchable. Share this so more people understand how deep this corruption goes. The January 18th raid fits a pattern seen across Michoacán. Authorities launch big efforts. Some lower-level members get caught. The top people slip away. Violence spikes. Communities feel targeted. Protests follow. In late 2025, similar operations occurred in western Mexico. 7 suspected CJNG members were arrested days before Huetamo. Each time the cartel adapts, they shift operations, recruit replacements, strike back. CJNG has global reach. Their networks operate in 47 countries. Cocaine from Colombia, methamphetamine precursors from China, distribution hubs in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Atlanta. The financial empire is staggering. Estimated annual revenue exceeds $20 billion. Money laundering through real estate, shell companies, cryptocurrency, offshore accounts. They're not just a cartel. They're a multinational criminal corporation. The failed Huetamo raid exposed the limits of conventional law enforcement. You can deploy fighter jets, armed helicopters, hundreds of troops, overwhelming firepower. But if corruption leaks intelligence, the operation fails before it starts. The 2 wounded DEA agents were evacuated to a trauma center in Morelia. Both underwent surgery. Both survived. But the psychological impact runs deeper. These agents risked their lives. They trained for months. They believed intelligence was secure. Then they walked into an ambush. Trust inside institutions weakened. Comment your reaction if this makes you angry. What followed the raid was worse. CJNG propaganda videos appeared online within hours. Masked gunmen celebrating the escape, mocking US and Mexican forces, claiming victory. These videos spread across social media, WhatsApp groups, Telegram channels. The message was clear: we are untouchable. This psychological warfare matters. It recruits young men. It intimidates communities. It erodes faith in government. When a cartel survives overwhelming force, they grow stronger. The wedding arrest provided a temporary distraction. Media focused on the Olympic athlete turned kingpin. The narrative was simple: heroic, a villain captured. But behind the headlines, federal agents were analyzing what went wrong in Huetamo. Who leaked the operation? How did El Jardinero know? Internal investigations began. Polygraph tests, digital forensics, phone records scrutinized. Someone inside the chain of command had betrayed the mission. This is the reality of fighting cartels in Mexico. The enemy isn't just the gunmen, it's the system itself. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this investigation. President Trump's January 2026 aggressive crackdown aimed to dismantle cartel networks through coordinated strikes. The strategy involved simultaneous operations across multiple states, high-value targets, asset seizures, international cooperation. Wedding's arrest was part of this broader campaign. So was the Huetamo raid. But results remain mixed. Some victories, many failures. Lives lost on both sides. The fundamental problem hasn't changed. Corruption allows cartels to operate with near impunity. Until that changes, operations will keep missing their targets. El Jardinero remains at large. So does El Mencho. So do dozens of other CJNG commanders. The January 18th raid revealed something important. CJNG is not a scattered criminal group. They're a highly organized military force with intelligence capabilities, early warning systems, infiltration networks. They anticipated the raid. They evacuated leadership. They left behind expendable personnel. This level of sophistication challenges every assumption about cartel operations. If you believe justice is worth fighting for, comment justice below. The families of the 2 wounded DEA agents received phone calls that morning. Your husband was shot. Your father is in surgery. He'll survive. But the calls that never came haunt other families. Agents killed in previous operations. Mexican soldiers ambushed. Journalists executed. The human cost of this war is staggering. Since 2006, over 420,000 people have been killed in cartel violence across Mexico. 100,000 remain missing. Entire communities displaced. CJNG's rise accelerated this bloodshed. They expanded aggressively, challenged the Sinaloa cartel, attacked rival groups, executed officials who resisted. Their brutality isn't random, it's strategic. Fear keeps communities silent. Violence eliminates competition. Corruption buys protection. This is why the Huetamo raid mattered so much. Capturing El Jardinero would have disrupted regional operations, cut supply chains, weakened command structure. Instead, the raid failed. The cartel grew bolder. The detainees from Huetamo faced interrogation. Federal prosecutors built cases, evidence collected, weapons analyzed, digital devices searched. But without the main target, the impact was minimal. These 7 low-level operatives in custody, dozens more ready to replace them. CJNG recruitment never stops. Poverty-stricken young men, few opportunities. The cartel offers money, respect, power. Until economic conditions improve, the cycle continues. Share this story before it's buried by mainstream media. Weddings Capture provided a template for success: international coordination, patient intelligence work, secure communications, no leaks. His network operated across Canada, Mexico, Colombia, and the United States. But investigators kept the operation compartmentalized. Only essential personnel knew details. That's why he was caught. The Huetamo raid involved too many people, too many agencies, too many potential leak points. Lessons are being learned. But at what cost? The failed operation damaged morale. Agents question whether their efforts matter. Mexican forces wonder if their government is compromised beyond repair. CJNG knows this. They exploit it. Every failed raid is propaganda. Every escaped leader is proof of their superiority. The psychological war matters as much as the physical one. If this shocks you, comment your thoughts below. El Jardinero's escape raises uncomfortable questions. How many officials are on cartel payrolls? How deep does corruption penetrate? Can Mexico's institutions be trusted? U.S. agencies increasingly operate independently. They limit information sharing with Mexican counterparts. Trust has eroded. But without local cooperation, operations become harder. Language barriers, cultural gaps, limited jurisdiction. The partnership is essential, but it's broken. But President Trump's administration pushed for more aggressive unilateral actions: drone strikes, cross-border raids, cyber operations. These proposals face legal and diplomatic obstacles, but desperation is growing. Fentanyl deaths keep rising. CJNG keeps expanding. Traditional approaches keep failing. Something has to change. The 2 wounded agents recovered physically, but dozens of conversations followed. Debriefs, psychological evaluations, questions about what went wrong. Both men requested reassignment. Neither wanted to return to operations compromised by corruption. This is how expertise is lost, how institutional knowledge disappears. When good agents quit, cartels win. Type yes. If you believe we need a new strategy, the Huetamo raid will be studied for years. What worked? What failed? How can future operations avoid similar mistakes? But while analysts study the past, CJNG plans the future. They're adapting, evolving, learning from every law enforcement tactic. They monitor communications. They study operational patterns. They identify weaknesses. This isn't a street gang. This is a sophisticated organization with resources rivaling small nations. El Jardinero remains free. El Mencho remains untouchable. The fentanyl crisis worsens. Weddings arrest proves success is possible, but it requires perfect execution, total security, unwavering coordination. The Huetamo raid lacked these elements. It paid the price. Share this video so others understand the real story. The protests after the raid reflected a deeper problem. Many Michoacan residents see cartels as providers. They offer jobs, security, money. The government offers poverty, corruption, neglect. When raids happen, communities view them as attacks, not law enforcement, attacks. This perception matters. It shields cartels. It complicates operations. It sustains the cycle. Until communities trust their government more than cartels, nothing changes. The January 18th operation cost millions of dollars: fighter jets, helicopters, hundreds of personnel, intelligence resources. The return: 7 low-level detainees, 2 wounded agents, 1 escaped high-value target. This is why frustration grows. Resources are limited. Every failed operation means another community suffers. Another shipment reaches American streets. Another family buries a child lost to fentanyl. The stakes couldn't be higher. If you believe justice matters, hit like now. El Jardinero's current location remains unknown. Intelligence suggests he moved deeper into Michoacan's mountains, remote areas, loyal populations, natural defenses. He'll surface again. He has to. Operations must continue. But next time, he'll be more careful. The failed raid taught him what law enforcement knows, what they can track, how they operate. This is the tragedy of failed operations. They educate the enemy. Wedding faces life in prison. His network is dismantled, assets seized, associates arrested. One victory among many failures. The fight continues. More operations are planned. More intelligence is gathered. More agents prepare. But until corruption is addressed, the outcome won't change. This is only the beginning of a much larger war. One that's being lost, one failed raid at a time, one leak at a time, one escaped target at a time. Comment fight if you believe this war can still be won. Subscribe so you don't miss updates on what happens next. Share this story. The truth needs to reach more people.